Welcome to the Patiyab channel. Join me now for the second part of the story of Jamshid. But glory is never eternal. Once, the world lived in peace and joy, and people rested under the divine radiance of Jamshid's Yazidi, the heavenly grace of kingship. Yet, slowly, pride crept into the king's heart. Jamshid, who had sat for years upon the golden throne and saw all things as his own, gradually came to believe that this splendor was not from the gods, but from himself alone. He declared, "All this glory is mine, not the gods." From that moment, he no longer spoke the name of God, nor of divine grace, and so the Yazidi abandoned him. The sacred power that gave kings legitimacy and heavenly support fled, and the people, who had once seen him as a messenger of the gods, turned away. At first, none dared speak against the king, but whispers began to spread among the people. "Our king is no longer humble. He thinks himself greater than the gods. How can we trust him?" The priests fell silent, for they no longer saw divine light in his face. Warriors lost their courage, farmers lost their will, and craftsmen laid down their tools. The brilliance that had once illuminated the world slowly dimmed. The festivals of Nowruz grew hollow. The fire temples stood cold, and laughter was replaced by heavy silence. Even the birds sang less above the palaces, and the earth, once fertile, grew weary and dry. It was then that Zahhak, the serpent-shouldered, arose, a tyrant who seized Jamshid's place through deceit and force. Zahhak was of foreign blood, with trickery and darkness dwelling in his heart. He made a pact with Ahriman, the spirit of evil, and from his shoulders grew two serpents, monstrous signs of his demonic bond. Each day these serpents demanded the brains of young men for their food. Zahhak became the very embodiment of darkness and blood. His court filled with terror, and the cries of grieving mothers echoed through the streets as fathers, broken-hearted, surrendered their sons to the executioners. The people, having lost faith in Jamshid, turned to Zahhak. He promised freedom, renewal, and glory. Yet behind those promises lay only blood and shadow. With cunning words he captured hearts, and with brute force he claimed the throne. At first, the people believed a new age had dawned, but soon they realized it was an age of bondage and fear. Each day the shadow of Ahriman grew heavier, and each night their dreams were haunted by nightmares. Jamshid, seeing that the people had abandoned him, fled. For years he wandered across plains and mountains, from city to city, from peak to peak. No longer the radiant king, he was but a man fleeing from a great past. He slept in caves at night, roamed deserts by day. Sometimes he entered villages, but the people did not recognize him, or if they did, they turned away. For the divine grace had left him, and no light shone in his face. Even children, upon hearing his name, clung to their mothers in fear, for Jamshid was no longer a symbol of glory, but of tragic downfall. Years passed, and Jamshid drifted like a shadow across the world. He thought of the days when he sat upon the golden throne, of the Nowruz celebrations, of the people's laughter, of the brilliance that once lit the earth, but all of it now shimmered in his memory like a distant dream. He knew that pride had stripped him of divine grace, and that this loss had sealed his fate. Each night, In the silence of darkness, he whispered to himself, "Had I remained humble, had I not forgotten the gods, would such a bitter destiny have awaited me?" The only answer was the howl of the wind and the cries of wolves in the mountains. Ancient tales say that in his final days, Jamshid sat upon a mountain and cried out, "O divine grace, why did you abandon me? Was my sin so great that you would take away such splendor?" But no answer came, save the voice of the wind among the rocks. He knew then there was no path back. In that moment, Jamshid understood. Glory without humility is like a fire that will inevitably burn out. At last, Zahhak found him. Jamshid was captured and slain. The reign of the king who had once lifted the world to its heights ended in bitter sorrow. The people who had once seen him as the sun itself now remembered only his name, a name forever tied to both grandeur and ruin. And that name remained in history as a warning. Pride is the greatest enemy of glory. This was the tale of Zahhak's rise and the tragic downfall of Jamshid. Thank you for staying with us until the end of this story. If you enjoyed the video, please support us with a like and subscribe, and share our channel with your friends so they too can join us on this journey through Ferdowsi's Shahnameh. Farewell. Until another story from the timeless epic of Ferdowsi.